This is the ALORAIR Sentinel HD55, and it is the first dehumidifier I have owned that let me set a target and stop thinking about my damp basement. It pushes a lot of air, moves real moisture, and it simply gets the job done without babysitting. I use this as a heavy-duty basement and crawl space dehumidifier. If you have stubborn humidity, musty smells, or water that creeps in after storms, this fits the use case. I wanted something that felt more like proper equipment than a disposable appliance, because my basement is old, dingy, and prone to getting damp. The usual big store unit I had before could not keep up. I needed a machine that could manage roughly 1,300 square feet and hold a set humidity, even after heavy rain. That is the niche this fills. On the outside, the design is very straightforward. The housing feels solid and serviceable, not delicate. There are adjustable legs with rubber feet, so I can level it on an uneven floor or set it on a rack. The intake is large, and that matters because it breathes easily and does not choke the fan. The intake filter slides out without a fight, which makes routine cleaning quick. The exhaust has a detachable plastic shroud that accepts ducting, so I can direct the dry air toward a problem corner if I want. The control panel is simple. There is a clear power button, an up and down control to set the target humidity, and a screen that toggles between the set point and the current humidity. No clutter, no confusing menus. On the back side there is the drain port. This model is gravity drain and it ships with a hose in the box. I did not want a bucket to empty, so I aimed that hose straight to my sump. There is also a version with a built-in condensate pump if you need to push water upward. I did not need that because I mounted this high and gave it a straight downhill path to the sump. The power cord is a standard grounded plug for 120 volts, and that outlet should be protected by a ground fault circuit interrupter, especially in a basement. My setup was very simple. I knew we get occasional flooding, so I mounted the dehumidifier on some strut above the floor. I used the adjustable feet to level it, zip-tied the included drain hose, brought it down to my sump with a continuous slope, and plugged it in. I turned it on, set a humidity target of 50%, and that was it. After a few seconds, the display switched to show the current humidity in the space, which was sitting at about the low 60s at the time. From there, it cycled on and off by itself. If the humidity rose a few points, it woke up. When it reached the set point, it went to rest. That set and forget behavior is the main reason I like it. The airflow is strong. You can hear it move air. Not in a harsh way, but it is not quiet. It sounds like a sturdy box fan at a medium to high setting. In daily use, that airflow matters. The air is pulled through the coarse filter and fed across the coils, and the dry exhaust can reach the far side of my basement without extra fans. The machine does put out a bit of warmth while it works. In a cool basement, that actually helps because warmer air holds moisture and makes the drying process more effective. If you expect absolute silence or no heat at all, you will not get that here. This is a workhorse. In terms of performance, this has handled my space as claimed. My basement is roughly 1,300 square feet with a couple of little rooms that trap damp air. Before installation, I was sitting around 60 to 70% humidity on a typical spring week, and the musty smell would build after rain. After I installed the dehumidifier and set the target to 50%, the basement settled into the low 50s by the end of the first day. After 2 to 3 weeks, I have seen it hold a steady 50 in normal weather, and on worse days it climbs a bit, runs harder and pulls it back. The drain hose has a steady trickle into the sump when it is working, and then it slows to drops and eventually stops as it reaches the set point. I have not had a puddle or an overflow. It is not fussy about short on and off cycles either. It seems comfortable with frequent cycling when the humidity hovers around the target. I ran a few real tests on purpose. After a heavy storm that pushed water vapor through the old stone walls, the humidity jumped into the high 60s. The dehumidifier ran for several hours continuously, and by the next morning the basement was back to the low 50s. I also hung a load of laundry near it to see how much it would help. The space warmed slightly. The clothes dried noticeably faster than usual, and the humidity bump went away in a couple of hours. Another test was doors open on a muggy day. I opened the hatch to bring in some tools and the humidity spiked. I closed up and let the machine work, and it corrected the spike by the evening. That is exactly what I want. I do not need to micromanage it. There are a few things that matter if you plan to use this long term. The removable intake screen is a big quality of life feature. The amount of dust that collects on it in a basement is no joke. I slid the filter out after the first week, and it already had a visible layer. Cleaning it takes a minute under a sink or with a quick vacuum. Keeping that screen clear keeps the airflow strong and the noise in check. The panel on the side is on a hinge with screws, and the whole unit is designed to be serviceable. That is a nice change from throwaway dehumidifiers. You can actually get into it if you ever need to. I did not need to open it beyond curiosity, but it is reassuring. The optional accessories exist, and I appreciate that they are optional. There is a remote control panel and a wireless fidelity module you can add. I went bare bones because I wanted fewer points of failure. If you plan to tuck the unit into a crawl space or a storage room and control it from elsewhere, the remote panel and wireless fidelity are worth looking into. Just know they do not come in the box with this specific configuration. I also tried a short duct run from the exhaust using the included plastic shroud. I attached a few feet of duct to push dry air toward a cold corner where cardboard boxes tended to feel damp. That worked fine as long as the duct run was smooth and short. I would not try to push air through a long maze of ducting, but for a targeted corner, the option is handy. When I removed the duct and let it blow freely, the overall drying speed felt about the same for my space, so I leave it off most days. As for drawbacks, I will be honest about a few. The noise level is acceptable for a basement or a garage, but not something I would want in a living room. It is a serious fan and compressor, and you will hear it. The display is easy to read up close, but I cannot read the numbers from across the room at a glance. The included drain hose is adequate, but it is not the most flexible hose in the world. If you have to make tight turns, a better quality hose will make your life easier. The unit is also heavy. I needed a second person to help lift it into place when I mounted it up high. On the floor, it is easy enough to slide and adjust using the feet, but if you plan to elevate it, plan the lift. Day-to-day living with it has been good. The biggest real-world difference is what I do not notice anymore. The cardboard boxes tucked along the wall feel dry instead of clammy. The cold concrete smell has faded. Tools do not flash rust. The sump area no longer has a ring of condensation on the pipe after a rain. I can set the humidity to 50 and check it once a week instead of checking it 3 times a day. That peace of mind is what I paid for. A specific use case that really sold me was a weekend when we had family over, and the dishwasher and washer and dryer were going nonstop. The humidity in the basement usually climbs on those days. With this running, the damp feeling did not build. I walked down in the evening, looked at the display, and it was sitting at 51%. I did nothing except empty the lint trap and go back upstairs. That is the experience I wanted. One more small note on power. This pulls from a standard household outlet. I made sure the circuit was protected by a ground fault circuit interrupter because basements and water are a reality. I routed the cord so it does not drape across a walkway, and I left space around the intake and exhaust so it could breathe. Those basics make a difference in both performance and safety. If you are deciding between this gravity drain version and the one with the internal pump, here is my take. If you can give the drain hose a straight, continuous drop to a sump or a floor drain, the gravity drain is simple and dependable. Set it once and you are done. If your drain is above the height of the unit, get the model with the pump or add an external condensate pump. Both paths work, but having the right version for your layout saves headaches. I think this dehumidifier is for anyone who needs a reliable, low-fuss solution for persistent moisture in a basement, crawl space, or workshop. If you want whisper quiet, a decorative design, and a little water bucket to empty, this is not for you. If you want a piece of gear that you can mount, drain, set to a target humidity, and trust, this earns its spot. I have been impressed with how it behaves like proper equipment. It is not flashy. It is not complicated. It just does what it says in conditions that ruin cheaper units for me. I will share detailed information about the ALORAIR Sentinel HD55 in the comments section. Everyone, thank you for watching.